I'm going to talk about parking policies. Parking issue is a common challenge in urban areas across the world, but it especially became more and more important and requires urgent solution in developing countries due to the rapid modernization in line with higher economic growth and rising standard of living. A parking issue is important because it affects the mobility and accessibility of urban dwellers. According to this week's reading, mobility means the movement from place to place, and it is the key element to enhance accessibility, which is defined as the ability to reach the daily needs and wants necessary to survive and thrive. In this regard, parking policies directly influence car owners' transporting habits and indirectly influence the accessibility of the rest of urban inhabitants, particularly the poor, by affecting the needs of public transportation. In addition, rapid modernization causes some negative impacts on urban cities such as air pollution, greenhouse emissions, traffic accidents, settlement disruption, and economic loss from traffic congestion. Therefore, parking issues are not only the mobility and accessibility issues, but also linked to other urban social issues. Thus, the parking policies require more comprehensive consideration in the process of urban planning. In parking policies, there are three main approaches, which are conventional parking policy, parking management policy, and market-oriented policy. The first, conventional parking policy, regards parking lot as part of the infrastructure of each building. The goal is to avoid parking scarcity and on-street parking in cities. In this approach, the government imposed minimum parking requirement on developers. This is the most common approach in the world, starting in suburban North America, but now can be seen in most cities in developing countries, especially where public transportation system is underdeveloped and private cars became more important as commuting tools. The second is parking management policy, which is regarded as a tool for serving broader goals in urban and transport policy. Limiting parking supply by decreasing parking spaces and raising prices can be one of the typical measures in order to foster the right of public transportation. In London between 1997 and 2010, the government reversed the parking lot requirement from minimum to maximum standards and restricted the number of off-street parking lots. This is a type of parking management policy. The third one is the market-oriented approach to ensure that demand and supply of parking lots are adjusted by market-clearing prices. It assumes that parking supply is responsive to the prices, which means that investment in larger capacity is likely over the long time if the price is adjusted at the appropriate level. Among the approaches, this is the least common one in the world. Let's take a look at Guangzhou, the third largest city in China with rapid modernization since 2000. Between 2005 and 2015, while population grew by 42% to 13.6 million, private cars increased nearly fourfold to 2.2 million. By September 2015, there were only 660,000 parking lots were registered, indicating that more than 1.5 million cars could not find appropriate parking spaces. In this case, the issue is not only the shortage of parking spaces in central business district, but also the insufficient parking lots in residential areas. In Guangzhou, the government has forced developers to meet the minimum requirement as the conventional parking policies. As you can see from the figure, Guangzhou has relatively high standard of requirement for the parking in apartment buildings compared with other main Asian cities. Besides, the government has adopted constrained parking management policy by limiting the issuance of license plate to 10,000 units a month by lottery since 2012. Before then, the registration of the plate reached 30,000 units a month. However, these policies have not alleviated the situation of insufficient parking spaces in the city, and the most expensive parking lot reached $190,000 in 2016. How should the city cope with the issue? Possible insight can be drawn from the case of Tokyo. In Japan, so-called proof of parking policy, which was initially only applied to large cities including Tokyo, has been introduced in 1962. This policy virtually has restricted the purchase of cars unless people secured parking spaces, which were necessary for the car registration. Together with the parking law prohibiting overnight on-street parking since 1957, this policy guaranteed the increase of parking spaces at least at the pace of modernization. Besides, 65% of total off-street parking was developed by the private sector by 1973. The share even rose to 92% in 2015. When we see this increase, we need to take into account that the bubble in the real estate market and land prices in early 1990s gave incentives to landowners to transfer their less valued vacant lots into parking spaces to charge some return. However, favorable land tax policies for parking lots and market-driven parking prices certainly fostered the increase of private parking business. As the world's most populated metropolis, Tokyo is a highly dense city with insufficient land for parking spaces. In order to solve this problem, mechanical parking facilities became predominant in the city. Usually, they are multi-story parking garages which can accommodate more cars in a limited land. In 2015, about 82% of total parking lots in Tokyo is provided by mechanical parking stations. This type of parking lots can be seen in Guangzhou as well. In 2012, about 4,300 parking spaces were provided by mechanical parking facilities. However, this figure is 1/50th of the number in Beijing. One of the largest reasons was the price control of parking lots. As the mechanical parking facilities required large amount of initial investment, controlled low prices of parking constrained the return on investment, which hindered the private sector to enter the parking business. Under the strong pressure to alleviate the issue, the government of Guangzhou started to adopt a market-oriented approach, allowing developer and management companies to decide parking prices in 2015. The city may also introduce the proof of parking policy in the near future following Beijing, which introduced it in 2015. However, recent survey reveals that about 90% of respondents criticize that their parking lot prices were raised wrongfully by more than 50% after the new market policy. The proof of parking policy may provoke social equity issue as newly joined middle-income class might not be able to afford parking space. This is the case in today's Tokyo, as young people cannot afford a car, not because of vehicle prices, but because of its expensive maintenance fees, including parking lots. This is partly the reason why the number of car registration in Tokyo has decreased since 1997. However, those relatively poor group of people do not have issues on mobility and accessibility, as public transportation, particularly train subway systems, perfectly meets people's demand. Not only the low-income class, but nearly 60% of total population in Tokyo commutes by public transportation. This is probably the top reason why Tokyo, which can only accommodate 22% of registered vehicles at the off-street parking, does not have severe parking issues in the city. One of the largest challenges of parking policy in large cities in developing countries is how to make those policies serve for the development of public mass transit systems without hindering people's mobility and accessibility under the pressure of rapid modernization. In today's class, let's think about the importance of public transportation and its development in the context of modernization. What kind of factors should we consider in the process of urban planning?